With 2 games remaining on the regular season schedule, the Boston Bruins have yet to name a number one goalie for game one of the playoffs, and their first round opponent is yet to be decided. Going to talk about all that and more on today's episode of Locked On Boston Bruins.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things Spoked B, as well as take a look around the NHL. Today is Thursday, April 28th, and it's hard to believe we are at game 81 of the regular season, but that's exactly what is on deck for our Bruins tonight as they host the Buffalo Sabres in the home finale. They have another game set for tomorrow night in Toronto. Before we discuss tonight's game and some other Bruins related news and note items, quick reminder, or first a quick thank you for making Locked On Bruins your first listen every day. The podcast is free and available on all platforms, so please do hit that subscribe button so that you never miss an episode. Obviously going to be lots to talk about in the coming days and weeks as the Bruins begin what we hope to be a run to the Stanley Cup. The podcast is also on YouTube if you'd like to digest it in video form. You can follow me at Ian C. McLaren for my dad jokes and hockey tweets, and you can find the podcast at Locked NHL Bruins on both Twitter and Instagram. So, the Bruins hosting the Buffalo Sabres tonight at TD Garden, and it will be Linus Ullmark who will get the nod in net against his former team. Jeremy Swayman will be in net for tomorrow night's game in Toronto, the regular season finale. Bruce Cassidy addressed the media on Wednesday and said that he has yet to decide who will be the game one starter with the playoffs set to begin as early as Monday. Cassidy said they're still evaluating it. Linus has been ahead of Swayman as of late, numbers-wise. It's been a bit smoother for him. Again, Ullmark will get the start tonight. Swayman will start tomorrow. And then they'll make the decision. They're going to be a little more coy about it than they typically would. That's just true of any lineup decisions when it comes to the playoffs. You're not eager to disclose information about injuries, starting goalies, just to keep the opposition kind of on their toes. But it certainly appears as though Ullmark will be the guy in net for game one. Since March 15th, Ullmark has posted a record of 8-1-0 with a .937 save percentage and a 1.65 goals against average. He ranks second in the league in save percentage behind Edmonton's Mike Smith with a minimum of 10 appearances since March 15th. And he's number one in the NHL in goals against average. So, based on recent history, if you're going to go with the guy who's playing at his best in the latter part of the regular season, it's going to be Ullmark. Cassidy said Ullmark's stellar stretch can be contributed to significant improvement in making the quote-unquote timely saves that keep a team in the game or maintain a lead. He used a breakaway save Tuesday night as a great example. It was 1-0, and this breakaway could have made it 2-0. All of a sudden, against a good offensive team, you have some doubt as to whether you can creep back if you're down 2-0. They would have pushed back no matter what, but still, it's one more thing to overcome. Now you're on the attack. Then they take the lead. Um, it's those moments that are so huge. You can either make that huge save, keep your team down 1-0, or you let it in. The Bruins are down 2-0, and then it's a whole different game. There's been 3 or 4 of those moments in recent games. Cassidy said that, he's stepped up and made those saves, whereas he wouldn't have early on in the season. Any team that gets a timely save from your goaltender, you get confidence, and the group can say, okay, we can take a breath. We don't have to be perfect. We're going to make some mistakes, but he is there for us. And that, to Cassidy, is one of the biggest differences between Ullmark and Swayman at the moment. And really gives Swayman the upper hand when it comes to who's going to start in the playoffs. Keep in mind, Ullmark has never appeared in the postseason. He played, for the Buffalo Sabres, who were not good enough to be a playoff team since he entered the league in 2015. But he always posted very good numbers for the Sabres during the regular season. That's one of the reasons why Don Sweeney thought it was prudent to invest 4 years, $20 million. He started off slow, which is completely understandable. Again, I've talked about it many times. You're moving cities, you're uprooting your family. He had only ever lived in upstate New York, Buffalo, Rochester, over here in North America. New teammates, new system. It took some time. We all expected Swayman to keep up his kind of star level entry into the NHL. He did for most of the regular season. He's kind of fallen off, which is completely understandable. He's only 23, never had the rigors of being a number one goalie at the NHL level, not even at the pro level. He went right from college to the Bruins, very limited time in the AHL. So it makes sense to go with the more experienced 28-year-old Ullmark. He's in the prime of his career, playing some of the best hockey of his career. And, despite not having that playoff experience, he's going to be thrown right into it. And the way he's playing right now, he is giving the Bruins confidence that they need to succeed when it matters most. And I'm completely on board with that decision. Going to talk about some more preparations for the postseason, what the Bruins are focusing on here with 2 games remaining in the regular season in a moment. But first, a quick word about Shady Rays. They're an independent sunglasses company that gives you the features of $200 sunglasses for a fraction of the price. That means polarized lenses, well-constructed durable frames, and premium high-end finishes. Something you won't find anywhere else is their insane protection program. Shady Rays includes lost and broken protection on every pair. They'll send you a brand new pair if you lose them, no matter what happened. Give them a try, and if you don't love them, you'll pay nothing. It's as simple as that. Plus, 10 meals are donated to fight hunger in America when you shop with Shady Rays. Exclusively for our listeners, you can head to shadyrays.com and use promo code LOCKEDON to get 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. That's code LOCKEDON for their best deal of the season. 50% off 2 or more pairs of Shady Rays sunglasses, backed by over 150,000 verified 5-star reviews. I want to thank you so much again for making Locked On Bruins your first listen every day. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Now podcast. Daily recaps of the previous night's action for every NHL game with analysis from our local experts. Free and available wherever you get podcasts. Now, as I talked about yesterday, the Bruins still do not know who they will be playing in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. We do know it will either be the Carolina Hurricanes or the Toronto Maple Leafs. The likelihood is that it will be the Carolina Hurricanes. The Bruins are 3 points back of the Tampa Bay Lightning for third in the Atlantic, with both teams having 2 games remaining on the schedule. So the Bruins would need to win out, get those 4 points, and the Lightning can't earn more than 1 point in order for the Bruins to jump up into that third spot in the Atlantic in a first-round matchup with the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Lightning play the Blue Jackets and the Islanders to close out the season. Very likely that they'll win at least one of those 2 games. Or even if they lose both in overtime, they would still get the 2 points necessary to lock down that spot. Either way, the Bruins coaching staff has begun preparation, checking out both the Maple Leafs and the Hurricanes. The Hurricanes clinching first place in the Metropolitan Division the other night. Bruce Cassidy said they've got guys starting to break down some video. He hasn't personally done that as of yet, focusing more on the 2 games on deck to finish the regular season. They might have a clearer picture after tonight's game. If both the Bruins and the Lightning win tonight, for example, then those spots will be locked in. They've started to chop up some video highlights of the Hurricanes and the Maple Leafs. They might have to throw out one of those, but no matter who their first round opponent is, the Bruins won't have much time at all to prepare. The regular season ends tomorrow, and playoffs will begin on Monday. Not sure exactly what their schedule will be. Cassidy not very concerned about Boston's ability to gear up for the postseason. Their lines are pretty much set. The defensive pairings are pretty much set as well. Their structure has been really good over the past few games. They've been able to, lock it down against some very good teams recently. Pittsburgh, Florida, St. Louis, the Rangers. Guys are getting it. They're buying in. For the most part, their defensive game is in good order, and that's what they need if they're going to be successful. Have to be able to check teams and get pucks back. Of course, they do need power play practice at the very least, but what's most important is getting reps on the power play. Hard to replicate game scenarios in practice. Guys aren't exactly ripping it. You don't want to rip one off, say Brandon Carlo's foot when he's killing a penalty in practice. They need it in games, and they need those reps in games. No idea how many power play opportunities they'll get against the Sabres and the Maple Leafs. Kind of getting back into a groove with David Pastrnak just coming back. So hopefully they are able to find some success tonight against the Sabres with some uncertainty about who will play in tomorrow night's game, being the regular season finale, on the road, crossing the border, etc. For tonight's game, everybody is healthy, and it will likely be the Game 1 lineup. No changes up front. Brad Marchand, Patrice Bergeron, Jake DeBrusk on the top line. Taylor Hall, Eric Haula, David Pastrnak on the second line. Then the bottom 6, Trent Frederick, Charlie Coyle, Craig Smith, Nick Foligno, Thomas Nosek, Curtis Lazar. And then on defense, Hampus Lindholm, Charlie McAvoy on the top pair, Matt Grzelcyk, Brandon Carlo, and then Derek Forbort and Connor Clifton. That really looks like what we should expect from a game one lineup for the Boston Bruins. Knock on wood, no injuries to speak of from these past couple games, and that's likely why we will see a very different looking lineup tomorrow night, just to reduce the risk of injury for the Bruins. It's really been kind of a tale of two seasons for the Bruins. We'll kind of wrap up the regular season maybe tomorrow, but from the beginning of the season to the COVID break, the Bruins, middle of the pack team, 577 point percentage since January 1st. A completely different looking team. They enter tonight's game with the fifth highest point percentage since January 1st. Just 0.002 behind the Toronto Maple Leafs and Florida, Colorado, Calgary in the top three. I kind of picked, I think Calgary's going to come out of the West. I think the Rangers could come out of the East, but the Bruins playing as good as any team in the East since the beginning of the new year. Fresh start after the COVID break and with these new look lines. And then you have Hampus Lindholm added into the mix on top of that. Bruins certainly seem like a team that could make some noise in the postseason, which we probably wouldn't have said back in December. Before we finish off with some news and notes around the NHL, a quick word about BetOnline.net, your number one source for all betting stats and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including the basketball playoffs, Major League Baseball season, as well as the upcoming Stanley Cup playoffs. BetOnline is your continued source for all sports wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today. Use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action at BetOnline, where the game starts. Thank you so much again for making Locked On Bruins your first listen every day. The Locked On NHL podcast is also available. You can get the biggest news items with help from our local experts. The final playoff spot was clinched last night as the Dallas Stars, despite losing to the Arizona Coyotes, earned enough points to eliminate the Vegas Golden Knights. Tyler Seguin, our old friend, scored, picked up an assist for the Stars. If you missed the feature on him in The Athletic, I believe it was last week, really great stuff on how he was able to return from his really devastating injuries over the last couple of years. I do highly recommend you check that out. Another big thing that came out yesterday was the 2021-22 NHL Player Pool, and there were some Bruins that made appearances on this list, the voting. The first one, which player do you wish you could shoot like? David Pastrnak came in fourth, earning 1.7% of the vote. Who's the most complete player in the NHL? Patrice Bergeron getting 19.5% of the vote behind Sidney Crosby and Alexander Barkov. Which player do you least enjoy playing against but would like to have on your team? No surprise, Brad Marchand, highest vote percentage here, 26.4%. Connor McDavid in second at 18.3%. So that's pretty standard based on Brad Marchand's track record. Marchand also appeared in the Which NHL Player is the Best follow on social media. He came behind PK Subban and Austin Matthews at 6.9%. pretty nice. I would have put him number one based on his Twitter presence. And then, which NHL player is the best role model? Patrice Bergeron second in that vote, 9.8%. Sidney Crosby, the runaway favorite there, at 42.7%. So that's where our Bruins showed up in the NHLPA Player Pool. All players voting on that one. I think that's it for today's episode of Locked On Boston Bruins, my friends. Thank you so much for tuning in once again. Excited for the final home game of the regular season tonight. I do believe tomorrow night's game will look more like an exhibition game, so it's probably the last time in the regular season that we will see a full complement for the Boston Bruins. And, I'm cautiously optimistic about their chances in the postseason. Of course, whether they play the Maple Leafs or the Hurricanes, on Monday there'll be a first round preview crossover with the hosts from whatever podcast the Bruins are matched up against, so we can get more into that there. But we know the Bruins have succeeded against the Leafs and the Hurricanes in the playoffs in years past. And the Hurricanes right now especially, some questions about them with both of their top two goalies out with injury. What else is on tap for today? I'm excited to watch the Tokyo Vice finale. If you haven't watched that on HBO Max, it's a very, very good show. The 8th episode dropped there. I watched Moon Knight yesterday. Still not really getting it. Maybe listen to some recap podcasts for help there. And started We Own This City, another HBO Max show. And last night, finally found out who Kevin ends up with on This Is Us. Very predictable. Where are Randall's daughters is my question. Anyways, nobody will get that reference if you don't watch that show, but I suspect probably a couple of you do out there. So yeah, happy Thursday, friends. Oh, one last note. Montreal Canadiens clinching 32nd place in the NHL after going to the Stanley Cup final last year. Obviously, the first team ever to go to the Cup final and finish 32nd the next season. That's going to be a tough record to break anytime soon. All right, happy Thursday. Thanks again for tuning in every day here on the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your favorite team every single day.